Welcome back to All Day Live. I'm Amy Hockert. We're really glad that you're with us here on this Friday. One of the headlines that didn't get a lot of attention yesterday, as I mentioned, it's just been sort of an onslaught of news coming into our newsroom. I know your news feeds are full of stories as well. There's a group of faith leaders who staged basically a sit-in at Target headquarters. They were there for at least 7 hours, and what they're doing is asking for a meeting with Target CEO Brian Cornell. They're asking the company to stand with them in their efforts to get these immigration operations out of Minnesota, among other things. So joining me now is Pastor Martha Bardwell, who was there yesterday and actually got the CEO on the phone. Thank you for joining us.
Okay. Good to be with you.
Before we move any farther, if it's okay with you, I'd like to just play the clip that's been on social media of the conversation that you had, and then we'll come on the back end of it and you can tell me a little bit about it. So Amber, let's play that.
Brian Cornell.
Hi, Brian. My name is Pastor Martha Bardwell, and I'm here with a bunch of clergy in the lobby of corporate headquarters. We are waiting here to speak with you.
Is this the right Brian Cornell?
You're out of town here. I'm putting you on speakerphone so we can all hear you. Go ahead.
I am out of town right now and heading into a meeting, but I know our local group is going to be happy to talk to you. So thanks.
Okay, can we get you on Zoom? Can we get you on Zoom after that meeting?
Sorry, I better run.
We're in total crisis over here in Minnesota. We really need to talk with you.
Oh, it's really, is it?
Okay, Pastor, tell me a little bit about the phone call and, you know, how you got him on the phone too, first of all.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, the day began at 11 a.m. We had a press conference outside of the downtown Target store, and we had several speakers from the faith community say very clearly that we have 4 demands for Target. First of all, we want them to publicly say that we need to get ICE out of Minnesota. Families are being torn apart. There's horror and terror in our streets that these ICE agents are bringing, and we need them out now. We also want them to make a public stance saying that the ICE agent who shot and killed Renee Good needs to be arrested and prosecuted. We also want them to publicly say that Congress should stop funding ICE, and there's a funding deadline coming at the end of January. We also want them to become a Fourth Amendment business. So that means we want them to say that ICE cannot stage in their parking lot and cannot come into their building to terrorize employees or customers without a judicial signed warrant. So those were our demands. We raised our voices as faith community, anchored in our faith values, anchored in love of neighbor as the heart of who we're called to be as human beings. And then we started singing This Little Light of Mine, and we walked together to the Target corporate headquarters. We went up the stairs, 120 of us from different faith traditions, ecumenical clergy, made a circle, and I presented those demands, not only from the crew right there, but we had hundreds of other clergy in Minnesota and across the country sign on to petitions. And we demanded to meet with the CEO. We were at first rebuffed and told that this isn't how things work, and that we could leave our petitions with them, and they would try to schedule something. But we really stood firm and said, no, this is a crisis right now. And we as faith leaders, when we have meetings and a family shows up and they are in crisis, we pause the meeting so that we can address the crisis at hand. And that is what we expect from the CEO of Target. So we were persistent. And really several hours into our sit-in, somebody had the idea, hey, let's try to actually call the CEO. And someone found a phone number on the internet. I have no idea how, but we thought, okay, on a whim, we're going to try this number. All of us expected that it would not work. We expected it was probably the wrong number, and if it was the right number, that he probably wouldn't pick up because he doesn't have me in his speed dial. But lo and behold, he picked up. And so we had that conversation that you saw. That video was posted on social media and it started going viral. And really shortly after that video was posted, things kind of took a turn at headquarters, and we got to speak with some leadership who were very cooperative with us and said, we are going to do our best to try and get a meeting with the CEO and you all. So we then selected 3 folks to be our spokespeople to come back on Monday and to meet in person with the CEO.
Can you explain to folks why Target? Minnesota has a lot of big corporations here. So why, I guess, Target?
Yeah, why Target? So many folks have probably seen the video of the Richfield Target and what happened there, where we had 2 teenage employees tackled to the ground in the entryway of that Target, who were clearly saying to the agents, "We are U.S. citizens." They were brown-skinned employees. We've seen just such awful racial profiling happening and targeting of our Black and brown siblings here in Minnesota. That video was totally horrific, totally wrong. And Target is a Minnesota homegrown corporation. We care about Target. I said in my remarks at the press conference, when I became a new mom 12 years ago, Target is where I went to buy baby bottles for my daughter, where I went to buy diapers and wipes. I mean, we expect Target to be the place that we go to help us care for our families. And their silence has just sent such a clear message that they don't seem to care about Minnesota's families. It really, our targeting of Target really builds on the Target boycott that is already going on, that other community leaders and activists have been holding down for months now after Target stepped back on its DEI commitments and sort of retreated from commitments that it had made to support Black entrepreneurs. So leaders like Nikema Levy-Armstrong and others have been lifting up that boycott for months now. So they already are feeling some pressure. And we really want better for Target. We want them to use the power that they have, and we know they have considerable power in this moment. We heard that there was an ICE surge planned for San Francisco, and that the Silicon Valley folks, corporate executives, called the president and said, "Do not send an ICE surge here," and they did not. So we know that when corporate leaders speak out and stand for what's right, they can have a huge impact.
Is your stance, Pastor, with the things that you're asking of, that you want to ask of the Target CEO, is your stance all or nothing? All of these things need to happen, or is there room in there for some negotiation? Is not the right word, but a compromise?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really good question. I will say we are going to be very persistent in these demands. A Bible story comes to mind from Luke chapter 18 about this persistent widow who goes to this unjust judge and says, "Grant me justice." And she will not stop. And she keeps demanding justice so many times that this unjust judge, who is described in Scripture as having no respect for God or for human beings, he is so worn down and bothered by her that he grants her justice. Now, I don't want to paint the CEO of Target or any other corporate leader as, heartless as this unjust judge in Scripture. But what I do want to do is lift up that as faith leaders and as people of goodwill who might be listening, it is absolutely our moral imperative to keep being persistent and to demand leadership in this moment. So we are going to keep demanding leadership. We are going to go to that meeting in good faith and just call the CEO to be aligned in his own personal values, in the values of the corporation that says, expect more, pay less. I think that's what their motto is. We're gonna come very persistent, and we're going to demand justice.
Pastor, if I could, aside from this, as long as we have you here, we have this opportunity to talk with a person of faith. It's not a voice that we hear very often in sort of our media streams. There are people who are turning to their faith right now on all sides, in every part of the spectrum of what's going on right now. What's your message to people who are coming to you, and in a couple different examples, maybe people who are really, fearful and not able to function, go to work, go to school, because they're just paralyzed by anxiety and fear. What is your message to them?
Absolutely. Yeah, well, one of the most repeated phrases in Scripture is, "Do not be afraid." And we hear angels and the voice of God and ministers of the gospel saying that word over and over again, "Do not be afraid," in circumstances where there is every reason to be afraid. after Jesus is crucified and then raised from the dead, the angel speaks to those who come to the empty tomb and says, "Do not be afraid." They've just seen terror. And the angel says, "Do not be afraid." And that message says to me, and I think can say to everybody, that no matter the circumstances, God is with us. God's love is with us. And, God's love is stronger than hatred. The life that we have through God, through our Creator, is stronger than death. And we have a very clear call, particularly as Christians. I'll just speak from my own tradition. I know many other faiths share so many of the same values and convictions and teachings, but I'll speak from my own faith to say we have such a clear call to love God and love our neighbors as ourselves, to work for justice and peace, to serve all people following the example of Jesus. And that call is crystal clear. And, Jesus never said it was going to be easy. Jesus did not live an easy life in any respect. There can be risk and cost involved, but we are not called to ever give up. And we draw strength from one another. So those who are cowering in fear at home, I want to encourage them to reach out to community, to reach out to neighbors, and to feel the support and love that I see pouring out in these streets everywhere. People are standing together like never before.
Pastor, thank you for your time. We appreciate it, and we'll check back in with you on Monday to see if you have an opportunity to talk with the CEO and see where things go from there. Thank you for your time.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
All right, take care.